Hey.
Hey.
We're leaving.
Hey. We're leaving.
We're always doing something different. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No.
Negative.
Yep. Okay, so I have a couple things. Like, we have really no idea what we're going to talk about, but I think it's going to turn into something awesome because we had a meeting at my office yesterday and we talked about some of the interest rate stuff and the 2-to-1 buy down and that kind of stuff, and then how we can educate people better in this market, because as we talked about last week, I'm going to keep it in suspense right there. Let's roll the intro. I gotta find it though. What?
Cue the intro.
Cue the intro. If I can get it. Okay, hang on. La 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 la. All right, here we go. Boom. Well, hello there. This is your realtor and lending team, Jason and Katie. We work in Metro Phoenix, Prescott. Actually, we can work all over Arizona. We do cool things like hold our fingers up and count stuff. We also do things like point and hold our hands in positions where it looks like we're talking about something really important. But the thing we do best is laugh. Oh, and we support you too. So thanks for joining us. We love your socks.
Oh, I was counting things with my fingers.
I'm pointing. I think that's so funny. Okay, so look how tired I look. I'm all puffy, and it's still hot here. Are you in Prescott right now, or are you in Phoenix?
No, I'm in Phoenix. I am in the metropolitan suburb known as Westbrook Village right now.
In Vistancia.
No, not Vistancia.
Oh, Westbrook. That's that retirement community off Union Hills.
Union Hills and
yeah. What are you doing there?
I'm hanging out with my brother because I'm down in Phoenix for 3 days. So
wait, he sold his house in Vistancia?
No, he still has it. He rents that bad dog out. He lives in Westbrook Village.
He's not old. He's not old enough.
Ask me how a young person can live in Westbrook Village.
Jason, can a young person live in a retirement community?
It turns out that there is actually an exception for a small portion of underage people to be able to live in the retirement community. So my brother is able to live here on an exception.
Is your brother right there? Can you come say hi?
He is around somewhere. I'm sure he'll probably make himself available shortly. So is it the same percentage for every single retirement community? That's a really interesting thing to bring up. No, it's not. I don't think it's the same for every retirement community. It just happens to be in the CCNRs of Westbrook. And I think it's under 5% or something like that. But
CCNRs is something, covenants and restrictions. What is it?
Covenants.
Something. I got to.
You know what it is, Katie? I know. It's CCNRs.
Let me look it up. I can look it up on there. CCNR meaning covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
Condiments, conditions.
Covenants.
I thought you said condiments. I'm
condiments.
Really?
It's for how old people like their sauce. They love their dipping sauce.
They love their sauce. There's no ketchup allowed in Westbrook Village. It's in the condiment restriction.
I have an idea for a future podcast where we're gonna just look stuff up and then comment on it, which we might be able to do today too. But react. So in the CC, really quickly though, because this is interesting. So we'll have two little topics today. So if you're a younger person, I know what's easier because I've seen it in the newer retirement communities. Like there's that fancy one in Vistancia and the one that Jerry Hilden bought. And remember her in Santan? What are those ones? Those fancy communities. It's
Trilogy,
like super fancy, like a resort. Then so when they're brand new like that, there's quite a few young people in their 40s, even like 40 or 30 something that can get in there. We saw a bunch of young people around the pool and stuff that lived there. So I was like, but it's kind of a good idea. Like I never thought that I would live in a retirement community until I started really looking at them with clients, and I was like, whoa, this is like college but for adults.
Who knew?
Who knew? So why would a younger person want to live in a retirement community?
Well, my brother's in a unique situation. I mean, he's single. It's just him. And here's the thing, my brother might be young, but he's an old soul. So
Yeah.
it's very quiet. It's peaceful. He lives right on a golf course. Like, I'm looking behind you right now.
Yeah.
That's a golf course right there. So
yeah. Well, by the time he's ready to retire, he's there already, which is nice.
Yeah. It's a really nice place to live. So he ended up picking up a house that was distressed. His plan was to flip it, and so he remodeled it, and then
decided to stay.
Yeah, he was just like, I could get this exemption. It's closer to town, so he's right on the 101 loop, which gives him access to the entire city very quickly, and so he just has a quality of life that he gets to enjoy here that he didn't where he was living before, and he loves it.
But kids under 18 can't live there, correct?
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, for me, if I was going to sell it, it's quiet, it's safe. There's quite a lot of amenities, right? Does he have like a golf course, tennis court, an activity center, all that stuff?
Yep, golf course. His house is right on the golf course. There's a community center. There's all different kinds of stuff. I mean, these retirement communities that we have out here are really centered around activities for the residents. It's a great opportunity for people to get together and make new friendships. And my parents in Prescott, they joined the club at Prescott Lakes,
where they have the good cauliflower pizza.
Where they have the excellent cauliflower pizza. But yeah, I mean, the club will have a good restaurant that the people can go to. My parents, it's all about the Friday night fish fry. Big deal.
Yeah. Oh, my dad loves that.
Yeah. So, well, and then, like on the community board, they have, there's a bridge club. There's a, so if they want to get together and meet new people and play, cards or whatever, like, and here's the truth. All of those things are really, really good for my parents, where they're at right now. So,
yeah. Well, there you go. We weren't intending on talking about old folks' homes, but we did. Not old folks' homes. It's something different. Whoops. No. Retirement community. Okay, I've got a super fancy cover for my notebooks, and I have a bigger one. And it says, do you see what it says on there?
What does it say? It says, I can't. Oh, champions.
Champion, because Horgan means champion in Irish.
That's awesome. Fremo means Fremo in Dutch. I'm just kidding. I don't know what that means.
What did you say it means?
Fremo means Fremo.
Fremo means you're free to mow.
In America it does. It means it's like a free mow of your grass,
You have very interesting last names. I always have to tell people. It's like mow the lawn. Okay, so the reason why I'm bringing this out is because at my meeting yesterday, and it's so funny because I think JFQ Lending is great, and they partner with my company, but you and I have worked so well together, and I'm just not giving. I can't quit you, Jason Fremo. And they all know they're like, yeah, Katie's got her lender, So, but it's nice. You know what I mean?
I can't quit.
What'd you say?
I can't quit you.
I can't quit you. Exactly. See, now we're always on the same page. We got that movie thing going on. So we talked about yesterday about the market. Okay. And so one of the things was, and I love my broker, Carl Freund, because he's so funny, because he's like, I just want to kick all these agents' asses, because it's true. Because it's like they're saying, like, it's the best time to buy is now, which is true, but they're not educating people why. Because what we talked about last week, because a $400,000 payment is much different now, because the rate now is over 7%.
Yeah.
So it's much different at that than it is 3.5%.
Right.
And then we went through this scenario. So now you tell me this. So say people come from Chicago, and their property taxes are $1,700 a year. I mean, $17,000 a year, $17,000.
Yeah.
So this is over $1,000 a month. Yeah. Here we have property taxes sometimes $1,000 for the year, sometimes less.
Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference in payment. So what we got to do is, so now you're probably going to be able to describe this better. There's less discrepancy in payment amount with a property tax that's that high than without it. Can you explain that?
Well, whenever you have a fixed cost on a property, like property tax that is that high, so much. it's a such bigger delta to overcome even than interest rate, right? Because on a monthly basis, that's a very significant amount. I mean,
Right.
you know, when you talk about $16,000 a year versus $1,000, I mean, you think about it, $15,000, that's over $100 a month you have to overcome, you know, just for it to be the same, right?
Right.
So you can't understate enough. You know, Illinois is not the only state that's like that. I've heard
Oh yeah.
people who talk about Texas. Oh, Texas is so great. Texas has no personal income tax.
Right, but the highest property tax, right?
That's exactly right. And so it's interesting because people who go to a state like Texas, they say that they're saving money, but they're not. They're paying more in the property tax than actually most people pay in their personal income tax to the state. And so you got to really know what you're looking at and talking at, and look at those numbers, you know?
So as a real estate advisor and a lender, how can we best prepare people in buying a home right now? Because that's what's most important. Because I think that's what's freaking people out. Because we kind of talked about it. We've been talking about it this is our third week now. So, but we're kind of on a slightly different topic, because if we're talking property taxes alone, so they don't need to look at price per square foot because it's always different.
Correct.
Are property taxes important to look at?
Property taxes are very important to look at. You bet, because it's a large portion of what your payments make up. Here's the other thing, because I get this a lot. You know, I want to buy something cheaper, so I want to look at a condo.
Right.
Here's the problem with the condo. Yeah, it's cheaper than a single family residence, but the HOA on those sometimes are much more expensive, because they put the insurance policies, the master policy, and those things inside of those HOAs. And so you might be able to find a condo for $180,000, and yet your monthly payment on that is higher than a house that you could purchase at $275,000 sometimes.
Yeah.
So you really need to look at all of the components. And here's the thing: this is what you're getting at. And I'm going to spoil it. I'm going to tell everybody, right? Like, what's the thing? That was your question. What's the thing that's important, right?
Oh, sorry. I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. You scared me for No, here's the most important thing. The most important thing is that you have a personal dialogue with a professional, right? And that person is asking you questions about what's important to you. It's important that we get to know you. This is what it is that's important to me. What I want to accomplish. Katie, this is my budget. You know, this is where it is that I'm comfortable. And here's the thing: you use all of those things to find solutions and develop options. And the problem with the market is they end up reducing real estate or lending to a sales pitch. I mean, we do that in the lending industry, right? We advertise interest rates. Yeah. Well, the problem is we advertise interest rates because those people don't have relationships. So they're trying to attract attention. They're trying to do it by showing something that, hey, look, I'm cheaper than everybody else, even though we all fish from the same pond. And that's the same thing with real estate. You know, everybody's out there trying to figure out what their, you know, unique position is. And here's the thing. The reality is it has to be 100% overwhelming sole laser focus on that client, their needs, their desires, and then working backwards to find the perfect real estate solution for them.
Jason?
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that you're pretty astute and smart fella.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because you had no idea that's where I was going to lead, and you just took it and ran with it. So that's what's important, because what people need to know, because most people are payment buyers. Most people,
right?
Okay, not everybody. I mean, if you're buying a $3 million home, you're probably not worried about that monthly payment. You know?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm talking about this, because you can have your payment, but you got to put in those property taxes. You got to put in the PMI if you're not putting 20% down.
Yeah.
Right. And then the insurance and all that stuff. So, you know, you can take a $1,200 payment to now $1,500, let's say.
That's right.
So people can't just go, okay, this is what this house is going to be at 400,000 or whatever. They need people to help them. And so this is why, I mean, I suppose you could work just with a lender and not with a real estate advisor.
No,
but
I don't think so, because they all work hand in hand, right? I don't, you know, and that's been my experience. You can explain to people, you know, the situation, but they also have I mean, when you're talking about real estate, you're talking about a place where people live. It's a place where their families sleep. Like that is a big, big deal. And it's every bit as important as the payment that you make every single month. So if you don't have that team that is meeting both of those sides of that equation, both the math in terms of how you make it work, but also, the emotional content component that goes with this is my home. This is my house. This is my safe place. This is where my family, if you don't have somebody that's meeting both sides of that equation, well, you might need to look at a different team because both of those things are equally important.
Yeah, because the real estate advisor is the one who does the negotiations and gets seller concessions if needed, that kind of thing. And the lender's the one who calls and talks about that client. So I know you have something to say.
Well, I'm going to ask you, do you or do you not have a PhD in counseling as a real estate agent?
Oh my God.
Right. And look, it's important, right? Because and I've seen this before. Okay. And you have worked with lenders that are not me, and I've had to work with real estate agents that are not you, which is difficult, right? Because if you are not approachable, if somebody can't give a voice to the way that they feel about the situation, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I've seen so many different times in a career that goes over 20 years when people are matched up with the wrong people and they can't, have their needs find a voice for whatever reason. And it happens quite often.
Yeah.
It becomes a very difficult situation. And those transactions sometimes end up being successful because they close. But the longer term, bigger picture becomes one of dissatisfaction. This was a house purchase, but it wasn't the right one for me. Why? Well, because, you didn't work with the right agent when you did it sometimes. And so it's just very, very important that you are comfortable with who it is that you're working with.
And because you need protection with the buy, and you also need protection with your money, your lending, because, you just don't know the whole process, right? So that's the thing. But it's interesting because we're going to hopefully bring a person on that we just talked to last week that had a situation in another state and needed some help because she wasn't getting the right communication from the lender. And so we're going to reach out to her and see if she'd, be willing to come on the show. But we'll help out anybody. So this is the purpose of this podcast too, is to let people know, hey, contact us with questions, because I got a hold of Jason and he talked to her. We had a 3-way phone call, and then they had another conversation, and we always say we're about relationships, not transactions. So he had told her, I'm going to help you no matter what. So if I can take over, I will. But if I can't, because, rates, she's locked in at 6.25 or something. So if you can't help, he's still going to guide her through the process. So it's about building relationships, and it's about helping people. So it's not all about the dollar bills, y'all. No. I mean, it's nice, but it's about relationships, You
know what? Dollar bills, they follow, in my opinion, and my experience is that, I have never wanted for business or transactions if I've always put people first. It's interesting. It's uncanny how that works. If you put people first and your goal is not necessarily to get paid, but to deliver value, somehow you always end up getting paid.
Well, and then those are people that are gonna refer other people and stuff. Like she'll say, "Oh my God, I know this real estate advisor and a lender in Arizona. You're gonna move to Phoenix? Okay, I got the right people for you."
Right.
So I have no idea. I had no idea what we were gonna talk about today. This has been great though, because I know you got to get going. We're gonna do Weird in the News in a second, but what are we gonna title this? How am I gonna promote this for tonight? Right now?
Golly, how are we going to title it?
Yeah.
The most important thing in real estate you didn't think to talk about.
Ooh, yeah, including retirement communities.
Retirement communities and the such.
Okay, I have what?
I will one more fun thing or whatever, because
please
show you, how this industry, what it is that you don't. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a client that was referred to the group earlier this week. And that client, the first thing that they said when they called to us is, I heard interest rates are higher. I hear that they're in the 5%.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting because the very first thing, and here's the thing, I'd love to take credit and say that it was me. It wasn't. It was my team. It was my brother, Devin. But the first thing he said is he's like, well, I hate to tell you, the rates are actually not in the 5s. The rates are higher. They're actually close to 7%, but that's a good thing for you, and I'll tell you why. And that's a really interesting way to start that conversation, because you end up taking it and changing the perspective. It's like, well, wait a minute, you're going to tell me I have a 7% interest rate, but that's good for me? Yeah, I can't wait to hear this. But then when you start filling in the facts, and then when you start going through why that really is a benefit, it changes the entire conversation. And let me ask you this question, Katie. You tell me, if you were a home buyer and you could release yourself from pressure of worrying about shopping for that very best interest rate and all those different things, if you could take the pressure off because it was still a great time to buy regardless of what that interest rate was, wouldn't that make you feel much, much better about the process you were about to go through?
Yes, and I'd want to shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah. And if you want to know the answer to why that question is, check out last week's podcast, because we talked about it. We even gave math, right?
We even did math, and not just on our hands.
It was, it was like we were in 9th grade again. It was great.
That's amazing. Okay, I was trying to find the article or whatever. So we're going to do the weird in the news. I don't know why I love that so much. Okay, so there was a guy doing it was on Jimmy Kimmel, and he talked about a couple of things. And there was a guy that was doing a Zoom, like a meeting, and then something happened in there, and he freaked out in his I wanted to find this article because I talked about it, because I'm thinking, why is there, so you know how you get like the dash cams and people are driving and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what does everybody drive with a dash cam? Because it just seems like things are set up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this guy's in an office and this situation happens. It's hilarious. I'm gonna show you, and I'm like, why is there a camera in there on him? Right. I'll explain it afterward. So here we go. Hang on, I got to get my specs out.
Put on your spectacles.
My spectacles. Chrome tab. Okay, so I haven't seen. Okay, so I don't know which one I should use here. Squirrel interrupts conference call. This has gone viral.
Squirrel.
Let's just get
into. You see him? Oh. Watch this.
Katie, would you react like that if a squirrel came?
No, if it was a cockroach, yes, as you learned the other week.
Oh,
okay, is that not hysterical? It's a squirrel.
Do you want to hear something funny that's like that? I was in my truck and I was driving the other day, and I'm coming down. I'm on the freeway, and all of a sudden I happen to look over, and from my roof, there's this little spider web, and this spider that's that big, like just floating down from my roof in the middle of driving 70 miles an hour. And I'm like, well, what do you do with this?
It's a good day to die.
Spider, I might take myself out, but you're going with me.
What did you do? Did you pull over?
No, I calmly opened up my deal. I screamed like that. I pulled out a piece of paper, and the noise made him. It was funny. He was like Spider-Man. Like the web went, whoop, and he went right to the top, and it was right next to my window. So I grabbed it, and I'm like, goodbye. And
no way.
I squished the spider against my window at 75 miles an hour.
Wow. That's incredible. I would have freaked out. I've had a bee like fly in my car before. But this guy, this is what's funny. So as I always do, I'm like, why is there a camera on him as he's doing his Zooms? And I'm thinking, like, is this a setup or whatever? But it was a nanny cam.
It was a nanny cam.
Yeah, so like with the kids, you have cameras all over the house so that you can keep track and make sure your kids are safe. He like way overreacted, and then I forgot what he said, but that to me is just hysterical. I mean, he really freaked out. And there's another one. Maybe it'll show the ending. Maybe this one will show the ending. Hang on a second here.
He reminds me of Jack Nicholson in The Joker. You want, or Michael Keaton? You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Let's see if I can fast forward this one just so you can see the end. Because what's funny is like they got people in there to get this squirrel out, and then
he called in a team.
Conference call on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead here.
An unexpected visit
So
came into his
they called him to get him out, and they thought it was all taken care of. Okay, and here's what happens. So they think it's all taken care of, and there's nothing there. So
Oh my gosh! Okay, that's
so here we go.
jumping onto the desk after getting.
Here it is, right here.
Oh no!
Look,
Okay, so you saw he had the bat ready. Apparently,
so
this
it
is
comes
not
back.
the first time. This is not, other TikTok videos show the squirrel scaring them at his front door.
These guys are dying.
Just taking a
That
So he comes back in there. Like they didn't show that, but he comes back in and he slams the door shut. And he was like, "Is there someone in the kitchen?" Because it turns out the flue was open in the fireplace, and that's how it got back in.
Squirrel is like, I'm going. This is my new home. I'm moving in.
I mean, he's like putting himself in danger, you know.
Too good. Too good.
Jason,
I like Katie,
what's the time for?
is it time? It's that
It's time. It's time. I'm not wearing any today, but socks.
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 I love the cloth that you put on your feet.
Not commando. That's not what I was referring to.
You know, if people didn't know us, they'd be like, wait a minute. What?
Wait, what are they talking about? Boy, they're awfully comfortable talking about everything.
You know what? I need to watch this thing again. I missed something.
Exactly. Hey, Jason,
Yes, Miss Katie.
I love your socks.
Love your socks, friend.
All right, we will see you next week, guys. Stay
Next
on 1
week.
second. Whoop, same bat channel, same bat time.
Yes, point at something.
Bye.
Counts.